everyone. Thank you for taking out the time to tune in and spend time with us. Are you ready to experience being uplifted and inspired? Well, wait no longer. We are about to hear music from the mind and the spirit from Brainstorm Entertainment. Well, some of you may be wondering, who is Brainstorm Entertainment? Well, wait no longer. We are about to enter the vault. Let's start with Archive. Founded in 1997, Archive serves as the CEO and executive producer of Brainstorm Entertainment Company, a multifaceted entity which consists of an independent record label, top-of-the-line recording studio, and production company that develops the talents of up-and-coming artists, musicians, dancers, producers, and engineers. With the release of Brainstorm's own inspirational artist, Miss Cherry Givens, the project was entitled Simply Cherry. Archive was solely responsible for managing the success of the album, ensuring that the album held its own weight in the music industry. With hard work and dedication, songs from the Simply Cherry album played over 61 radio stations nationwide, reaching 23 states. Archive released his R&B debut CD, My Soulmate, under his own Brainstorm Entertainment's label in 2008 and digitally distributed it through cdbaby.com. This CD became a success and went on to sell in Japan, London, France, Italy, China, Jamaica, Africa, and Germany, and also put him on the top local indie pop charts without any marketing or promotion. Riding on the independent success of Soulmate, Archive recognition as one of the top 10 CD Baby party pop and techno pop charts for 2 consecutive weeks in Germany, France, Italy, Japan, London, Africa, Jamaica, US, China, Denmark, and Australia. Archive achievements are so awesome, and we're very proud to be a part of Brainstorm Entertainment. Archive has achieved recognition from organizations which include the Music Zone MASP, Music Appreciation Summer Program, a partnership with YMCA. Sung for the City donated proceeds to Wiley Children's Center Foster Care. He has also won a trophy for the Best Male R&B Artist and hit the #1 spot on PopReverberation.com charts in Flint, Michigan. Archive has also been featured as an artist in Moheat magazine. The songs featured on Spotify under Archive songs are available for purchase on Amazon, collaborated with the likes of R&B, hip-hop favorites, Destiny's Child, Whitney Houston, Aaliyah, Dr. Dre, 112, 702, Snoop Doggy Dogg, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, Young Jeezy, and Quincy Jones, to gospel biggest names like Dr. Rance Allen, the Clark Sisters, Kenton Jones, Pajam, and Diedrich Haddon, just to name a few. Also, as a company, he has done jingles for Cumulus 92.7 FM call station WDZZ in Flint, Michigan. He was also the first local production company to work with the radio station. We are so proud of Archive. Archive has done a lot of awesome things, so now let's join in as Archive is being interviewed with DJ.
Everyone for joining us today. Today we are here with Archive, and we are talking about the upcoming album, The Vault. And we want to just discuss how the creative process went and how this project came about. So we're going to start with some questions for Mr. Archive, if you do not mind. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Great. It's always lovely to see you as always.
Thank you. It's good to be seen.
So what you
Glad
been
to
up
be
to?
alive. I have been working diligently
Hmm.
on this musical journey of life that I've been on. And I decided to release this new album from a lot of music that I had, back in my computer from years and years and years ago. And
How far back?
well, some of those records I found were probably dated all the way back from '97, maybe.
Wow, that's a wow.
Yeah, yeah, '97. I think '97. Pulaski Street, Flint, Michigan, 517 West Pulaski. That song was recorded. Yeah,
And
about
that's where you
'97.
grew up, is that correct?
That's where I first moved out in the first house that I lived in when I first called myself uh, making my own studio.
And you laugh. What is the laugh for?
Because boy, making your own studio back then was not like how it is nowadays.
How so?
It was very expensive.
Mm,
You know, they didn't have all the technology that they have now, and so I had to get it the best way I could get it.
ground up, right?
Yeah,
Grassroots.
and it's weird because I was just talking to somebody last night. I actually watched the world turn. Because I've been here over 4 decades now, and I've watched the world like really change. I watched technology change. I watched color TVs come. I watched typewriters turn into computers. So
Right.
I watched washers and dryers. Like all kind of stuff. Movie projector screens turn into TVs and beta hi-fi. Like I watched all that stuff, happen. 8 tracks and
And what's interesting,
records. It's amazing.
it is amazing to be able to be here and watch all of that
Yeah.
within a short period of time, to see all of these, great changes.
Yeah.
I think one of the wonderful things is throughout all those changes that you were able to put that in recording.
We'll be right back after words from Archives Mom, Miss Linda Long.
Mother of Bernard Jackson Jr., better known as Archive. I want to tell you a little bit about him. He was born as a Pisces in February. And he was a special child when he was born, and even now. But he's always been special to me and to a lot of other people. Bernard was a beautiful baby, and he was shared with a dear friend of mine named Sally. So it was like he had two parents when he was just a little baby. But he was spoiled. I couldn't even go to work without him having me to come home because he'd run a fever. And even now, we're still very close. Bernard got saved when he was about 13, but before then, he always had an anointing over his life. We never knew what it was, but he used to love to write and sing. And he would have a Michael Jackson jacket, and he would sing for us and dance and do the Michael Jackson thing with the glove, and go to Wilson Apartments where the old people was and entertain them for Thanksgiving. He always had a good heart where he loved people, you know. And even now, he still has a beautiful heart. He used to just be a blessing to me always and to others. In Prayer Garden, he sung with the given ears. He produced in his studio. I bought him a keyboard and he played it. And that's where all his dreams started. Well, I can't say start because it started before then, but he got on that keyboard and everything came to life. So, Archive, my son, I love you.
I was always a sponge to music and to life. Period. You know, I was telling somebody last night I got a lot of beatings so that a lot of kids could have a voice today, because you know, the opportunity that people are able to make their own music in their own house now. You know, I was one of the first people that was actually able to do that. And I listened to so much music back then, and I was influenced by so much music that I used to hear so much music in my head. I felt like my head was going to explode. Like I would hear music all in my head, and I would just love, and I would just, you know, just be a sponge to so much music. And when I got the opportunity to get my hands on something and create it myself, I was like a kid in the candy store. I didn't know what all I was doing, but I could hear, you know, and I started figuring things out, you know, and before you knew it, I started making beats and I started making productions, and you know, even when I was a little boy, I always wrote poems for my mom as a little kid, and I used to get good grades on poems, you know, and so I was
Your
always,
talent.
yeah, I guess they would say, as the kids say out there, I was sick with the pen, you know, even as a kid, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I was always getting good grades for poems. So I eventually, when I got that opportunity to be able to put that music that I was hearing in my head, along with that good poetry that I used to do when I was at home, and make some lyrics and make some melodic with that music that I was hearing, I was able to come and create something in my own little, whatever I called it, my
studio.
little studio.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a studio.
Well, it was your
like,
studio.
yeah, you know,
Right.
and I made some magic happen, and people heard it, and I don't know, everybody wanted a piece of it. It was like, yeah, it's crazy.
I was going to ask that, just in listening to your albums, The Vault. How did you get to record yourself and then start recording for other people, including major artists like, you know, Rance Allen? You know, you're recording Jerry Givens and a host of other artists. How did you come from, you know, writing your own material and, as you said, being that sponge? How did that develop?
Well, it's funny you said Cherry Givens and Rance Allen, because when I was a little
I
kid,
really respect them.
It's crazy. As a little kid, I big shout out to Cherry Givens and Rance Allen, and of course, Administrative Bishop Jerry Givens and Pastor Jerry Givens Jr. and his lovely wife Joy Givens. But yes, I had to give shout out to all of y'all, because let me tell you, they created a venue for me to be able to get all of that was in me. I was able to get it out at their church. And
Isn't it
Cherry
amazing
Givens,
how I'm sorry to cut, it's just amazing how church, how that brings out so many things in artists. You know, that's usually the foundation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But you were going to say in Cherry Givens.
yeah, even before I became a member of their actual church, when I decided that, when I was hearing this music in my head, I don't even remember who first asked me to go take piano lessons. I don't know, maybe I started on my own, but something made me go want to take piano lessons. And I guess my mom set it up. And I didn't even know Cherry at the time. I wasn't even going to the church. Like, it wasn't even connected all in my head. I hadn't connected the dots yet. But my mom must have called my auntie, and my auntie must have knew Cherry, and she went to her church, and some kind of way I ended up taking piano lessons from Cherry Givens. My first piano teacher, yes, was Cherry Givens, man. And so I used to go to her house, and I would sit in her front room on this big grand piano, and she would teach me Little Fingers. She told my mom, she said, buy him this book. It's called Teaching Little Fingers How to Play. And it was this big red book, and I read that book and read that book and read that book. And I was trying to learn how to read sheet music and all that. And it taught me the little things, stepping up, stepping down, then a kiss. I mean, it was just my first little chords and everything. And so from there, it just grew. It just got bigger and bigger. You know, I started little and, you know, and I guess what ended up happening was people started noticing that there was something.
There was something different.
They knew it was something. And before I knew it, I became a member of that church. And the weird thing about Rance Allen is I came to that church when I was 13 years old, and I heard Rance Allen sing for the first time live. And boy.
It was a concert, or
I don't know if it was I can't remember if it was a concert or if it was I think when he used to come to our church, he used to kind of do a little bit of both.
Okay.
So he would preach a little bit and he would do like a mini concert too.
Okay.
But this had to be a night when he was preaching and doing a mini concert. Because that night he came, he put 3 chairs in the middle of the floor. And he said, if I could get just one person to come to Christ after tonight, I would feel like my job is done.
So let us guess that one person was you.
I was that one person.
Well, welcome to Christ.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's a
and
wonderful
I'm telling
thing.
you, yes, and I was 13 years old, and Rance
young
Allen was
man.
on that stage, and when I heard him, he blew that church up. I was just like, oh my goodness. I was like, I've never heard a man sing like that. And I was like,
You surrendered?
yeah. Like,
You know,
yeah.
musically and everything.
Yes.
So he taught you a lot.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
And so it's funny you said them 2 names, Cherry Givens and Rance Allen, because
They're really
they were the 2
influential people.
major influential people that really kind of helped with the whole start of what is now.
We'll be right back after words from recording artist Cherry Givens.
A Life with Bernard Jackson Jr. Bernard Jackson Jr. came into our life when he was about 10 years old. My husband was the pastor of a church then, and he visited with his cousins, the Jacksons. And when he came to our church, you know, I seen a troubled young man, very insecure, very shy, and laid back. And so we took him up under our wings and we began to foster love to him. And I remember him asking me one day, asking his mom one day, because he wanted to learn how to play the piano. He saw the young musicians at our church, and he was very interested in music. So his mom gave him permission to come over to my house, and each day after school he would come over and I would start teaching him how to play the piano. And from there he began to really pick up, and I noticed that it even helped build his confidence a little more, boosted his ego a little more, and he began to have more confidence, and music really became his life at that point. He was so engulfed in music, it was amazing how he learned so fast. And I had a daughter, LaTonya Givens, and they were pretty much near about the same age, about a year or so difference. And she was into music too. She's loved music. So they kind of partnered together. And I would let him come over to my house, and they would be, I bought him his first, I think it was Cakewalk it was called, that taught them how to mix music and record people. So they were in the basement, they began to record songs, they began to write songs and engineer songs. And they worked good together as a team. You know, it kind of grew into a relationship, the two of them. And it was really, you know, it was really something. He would ask me about going out with my daughter, and he was writing her letters, and I would say, why are you writing my daughter's letters, you know? And I would really stay on Bernard. But he was, whatever you asked him to do, he did do. He talked a lot. I mean, he could tell he was a child that didn't get much attention because he just talked. And so that's one of his weak points. But music kind of helped balance that out for him. So as their relationship grew and then dissolved, and I don't think either one of them ever got over the other. But Bernard is a very amazing young man. He started working with the groups in the church. There was the Givenaires, the Heavenaires. He sung with a couple of other groups, and he was helped produce music for them and wrote songs for them in their first albums. And he was just a musically inclined young man, and music was his life. And music centered around his life. Um, he had some good days and some bad days. We had to do a lot of helping to boost his ego and encouragement because he had a lot of adversaries and a lot of people that didn't really like him because he was so talented. In life you find that, people are going to be jealous of you. They're not going to like you because you're so talented. And because he was so talented, he had a lot of adversaries and a lot of people that he had to deal with. And we always try to encourage him. Every time he'd fall off the wagon, get discouraged, feel like no one appreciated me. That's his favorite word. No one understands me, and they don't know who I am. And they said this about me and said that about me. And I would say, Bernard, it's not what people say about you. Sticks and stones may break your bone, but names, I won't say they never hurt you. They hurt you, but you can get over that. And so I would tell him that all the time. And as he grew up and he started working with Bernard Terry, this young man who had his own studio. And he gave Bernard the key. Now, people normally don't do this. He was well established, businessman, had his own studio. He would give Bernard a key and let him go into his studio any time of the day and night he want because he trusted him. And that's one thing about Bernard. He is a trusted. You can trust him. He's a very honest young man, very trustworthy. He gets on your last nerve sometimes, and you want to like toss hanging from the chandelier, or put on your headphones and say, don't say nothing else. But he's very trustworthy. He is a person that you can depend on. A friend, if you want a friend, Bernard will be a friend. He's loyal. And to me, loyalty is everything. And so my husband and I, we often talk about Bernard because no matter how many people have come and gone, Bernard has been loyal to the church, to our church, Prayer Garden, and has been loyal to our family, the Gibbons family. So he went to a women's convention one year. I know it's been 10 years ago, maybe about 12 years ago. And I was on my way to a women's convention. Bernard called me that morning and said, the Lord put it in my heart to do a CD, a gospel CD, and he put you in my spirit. I said, me? I couldn't believe it. I said, I'm all people. What about you? I mean, you're the singer. What about Tom, my daughter? She can say better than I can. And so he said, no, they want you. He said, you. So I said, well, I'm going to be in Atlanta for a women's convention. And he said, well, what we'll do, we'll hook up when we get there. So we did hook up together, and we ended up making a whole album in 7 days. How we did it, I don't even know. We wrote the songs, he engineered them, he did the music, and 7 days, like we did a song a day. We completed a whole CD, a whole album. And by the time I got back to Flint, all I had to do was take it to Bernard Terry, the young man that I was telling you about that helped mentor him. And that's the story of Bernard. He has been in our life for over 30-something years, and so he's a joy to have. But he can be a handful to us well. Yes, he can. And if he works more on his not letting people get under his skin and get to him, he's the type of person. He's very sensitive, very very sensitive, and emotional sometimes. And people can really work on that weakness that he has, and they do. And because he's called me several times, and I've had to encourage him. He just felt like all my work is in vain, and nobody loves me, and I don't seem to be going anywhere. I'm spinning my wheels, and I tell you, Bernard, you have a gift that a lot of people wish they could have. And this is a gift from God. And I tell them, I say, you got a talent and a gift. And you just have to stir up that gift, put your blinders on, put your headphones on, get into your music. Don't listen to your naysayers or the people that's in your ear, and just do what God has called you to do. And if anybody has been called for music, God has called this young man, for music. He's like, he was born. How you say God knows what you're going to be before you out of your mother's womb? He signatured him, Bernard. And I think he's going to be, my husband told me he's going to be the first millionaire from our church. And I believe that if he just stay focused. He haven't got there yet because a lot of times he let distractions set him back. And we trying to, I'm one, trying to push him and encourage him. You can do this. You can do this. You can. And I also want to mention how he didn't want to charge me anything, not a dime, to do that CD. But because I said, well, someone else did it. If I went to someone else, I'd have to pay them money. And I had to literally make him take money from me, or I'll pay a bill for him, or do something, or, buy him a his computer or whatever he need, or speakers to make up, because he wouldn't take any money from us. That's the type of child he is. But he's a very kind-hearted person, and I hope that to see him succeed in his life, because before the Lord called me home, I want to see Bernard Jackson Jr. name up in lights because he deserves that. And that's how I feel. And I do love him, even though he gets on my last nerve sometimes. I do love him. He's the type of person you can't help but love. But you got to have your moments. We need our space, you know. Sometimes we in the studio and we're working together. Oh my goodness. And I have to tell Bernard, just take a break. Just step out, you know. And I told him last night, and I'm going to be finished. I told him last night, I called him and I encouraged him. I said, you outdid yourself with the music last night. I said, well, I guess I got to let you fuss more often, because he fussed for about an hour before we got started. But once we got started, it was no stopping him. And we finished a whole new song last night. Written, directed, and composed the whole 9 yards. So that's the life of Bernard Jackson. I feel like he's one of my own children. I've been with him for so long. And anything he needs from me that I can do, I will do. Thank you so much for this space. I feel honored to be able to speak about this highly anointed and possible child to deal with sometimes. I feel honored to be one to speak for him in his behalf.
I don't know. I think it's about 17 or 18 songs on there. But let's see. I think there's "Call My Name." I Can't Go For That. I'm Saved. God Knows I Hate to See You Cry. You Don't Have to Cry. In the Wilderness. Now That I'm With You. I don't ever, ever, ever want to stop. I want to give him praise with everything I've got, with all I am and everything I'm not. I surrender to you. There's so many, man. There's so many songs. Keep the faith.
I was going to ask, just listening to you name all of the some of the title tracks from the vault. Mm-hmm. Those are strong titles, even for someone who's not saved. Just those titles alone are very impactful. So, in your writing process, do you think of the title and then your songs come about, or is it the songs write themselves and then you title the songs? How is that creative process?
I guess because of the fact that I've always been a sponge to music.
Okay.
God just gives me, he puts melodies in my head. And sometimes he speaks to my soul and he speaks to my spirit.
And we think
when I'm going through certain things.
Yes.
And he just gives me a song.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm going through, it's like this is his encouragement to me.
So
he just uses me. I'm like, my mom says when I used to sit down there in that basement and make that music, she said she said it was like a shield was around me. She said it was like when I be in that element, she said I'll be a whole totally different person. She said nobody can penetrate me. Nobody can come between that space and tear me down when I'm in that space. And the only thing that I can think of when I'm in that space is I'm in this space with the Lord.
Mm-hmm. It's safe. It's sacred, and you're in that creative zone, correct?
Yes, very.
Wow. So is it from those songs that you
getting
mentioned?
Emotional already. Look.
It's okay. It's okay to cry. I mean, when we think about the goodness of Christ, it just makes us very emotional, and I'm certain for you to have. All of these songs and, all of the songs to mean and a testimony to those songs that is going to bring out some very personal experiences. So it's okay to cry with me, brother. So with all those songs, do you have a favorite or a favorite few?
It's crazy because I think when I write music, I think at that particular time when I'm writing that record is my favorite song. When I'm going through whatever I'm going through, that the Lord gave me the record in that moment, that becomes my record. That's like whatever trial that I'm going through or whatever situation, whatever circumstance that I'm facing, he gave me those messages. And
Certainly.
whether it was me going to church and I received a word that I needed to hear, and he gave me and he anointed me and used me and made me, gifted me to put it into a song, that was what it was. And it's not so much, the music wasn't for other people, it was for me. It was therapeutic for me. It was what God was giving me to get through whatever that song was doing at that moment.
Right.
So, to answer your question, all my songs have been hits to me. At some particular point, they have all been my favorite. Because whatever that song meant at that time, that's what the Lord was taking me through. And at that time, that was my favorite song, because it takes me to that place
I understand.
when I was creating that record.
So for those that may ask, you've created these songs over your lifetime. Why now release them?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. It's gonna get a little deep.
It's okay. It's okay. That's what we're here.
What happened was I experienced a lot of dealing with some deaths and depression, and it was all around me, and some of it was even happening to me.
Okay.
I knocked on death's door several times, and in the past like 4 years, and there was a few times that I didn't think I was gonna make it. I mean, I was put in some situations where I really thought it was the end. A hernia surgery that caused me to go into 2 comas and I stopped breathing twice, and they had to revive me and bring me back. And
It's tragic.
yeah, and then I also experienced something last year that I didn't understand. I went to the doctors and they didn't know what was going on. They couldn't help me. They ran all these tests and they sent me home, like nothing was wrong, but I thought I was dying. Like I really thought I was dying. And so I got a phone call from a young man who didn't even know what I was going through, but he called me one day and he said, man, he said, whatever happened to that one song you recorded so long ago? I said, what song are you talking about? He said, that one song. And he started singing it to me. And I said, how you know these words to this song all these 20 years ago? 18, it had to be like 18. I think I recorded this song in 2001.
Okay, what song is that?
In the Wilderness.
In the Wilderness, which we all find our way in there somehow. And unfortunately, many of us don't. So how did you find is it through the song that you found your way out and birthed the song?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, believe it or not, that particular record, my father, he called me and he gave me one day a list, a couple of titles. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, I got some titles that came in my head. He said, I'm going to give them to you. I want you to take them and make them into some songs. And I was like, what? My daddy ain't never offered to help me with my music. That's weird.
So this is In the Wilderness, correct?
Yes. And when I saw that title, In the Wilderness, I said, I'm going to write a song to this
Around
one
that.
right here. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm serious. God instantly, I don't know, I'm telling you, it's spiritual. God uses me. I'm serious. Because I'm going to tell you, a lot of the stuff I did, I would never be able to duplicate, because I was in a presence with the Holy Spirit, connection with the Lord up above.
It still is.
So it's like,
with all of us.
yeah. So I'm like,
Yeah.
when you in the wilderness, it just came. I mean, it just flowed out. The music came in my mind, and I got in my studio and I just recorded it. And a couple of people came and sung background, and another guy from Toledo, he loved it and he had to jump on it and he started singing on the background. He wanted to co-produce it. It was infectious. It was like everybody wanted to be a part of it, you know. And before I knew it, we were all in there working on that one record, In the Wilderness.
Wow.
And it became like, I had no idea that that song was going to touch a young man that I used to house sit for, you know, when he was like 13 years old. That boy still remembered that song, In the Wilderness.
And I think that's a great point because, if it's touching people that you know, and when she released this album, people that you don't know, and how something that you've gone through and as a personal testimony for you and how it's grown and how it's going to affect people that you don't even know.
Don't get me started.
Well, I'm just saying, that's one of the wonderful gifts of God, and especially when you're humble enough to allow Him to speak to you and to minister you, and you be the vessel, and you bring it out in the art form.
See,
So
you're taking me to that place now. You taking me to that. You're taking me there. You're taking me to that whole experience of In the Wilderness now. You putting me there. I'm having the whole experience right now in my head. And I'm listening to them lyrics in my head right now, and it's almost just bringing me to tears, man.
We'll be right back after words from recording artist Sandy.
My name is Sandy Diane, artist, Ashford, and Bernard Jackson Jr., I've actually been knowing him like almost all his life. I met his mom when she was like pregnant with his second sister, Crystal. And Crystal, I didn't meet her, but Bernard was like always smiling. Every time I seen him, he's always smiling. I'm like, this little boy gonna be something, because he always smiling for the camera. I'm like, but he was like the only little boy that was in the neighborhood that made sure the other little kids did what was right. Because the other little kids like, Bernard always telling. But Bernard would be telling on him so that he can keep him out of trouble. And then when I come back in contact with him, and the Jacksons, like they all like came together. I'm like, Jacksons, them some bad people. Like they can sing. And at that time I didn't know that Bernard had the desire and the heart for that same type of music and everything. Then when I heard that he was doing it, my son was like, Bernard do this and Bernard do that. And and then people was like, he kept saying, you need to get with Bernard. You need to get with Bernard. I'm like, I need to get with Bernard. And I'm like, okay, he down here. I kind of messaged him. I kind of went through Messenger. And I kind of did a lot of little stuff to try to get in touch with him. One time I think I called him in Messenger. I said, I feel like I'm going to need you. And I was just trying to figure out when you think that you can be to help me and work with me, and I was saying stuff like that. And I was like, I was just trying to see when you can, work with me. And he was like, well, I'll give you my address and I'll give you the address to the studio. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go over here and work with Bernard. But little did my son didn't tell me that Bernard don't play. Like, you go in the studio with Bernard, you need to be ready. You need a rehearsal before you go in there, because once you get in that booth and you ain't on your stuff, he gonna let you know. And he gonna let you know in a way don't seem like he being nice about it, but it's being to the point where you want to do better. You wanna get your parts. So he's like a mentor, a teacher, and I think he take like misfit people, like, cause I feel like I'm not really that good at what I do, but I can master it with help. Like, and he wants you to master what you do, cause I feel like he's a master at what he do, because he want everybody else to be a master at what they do. I'm like, this is the hardest thing I ever had to do, is like be in the studio and not get it right. And so when he wanted for you to be sounding so good, he wants you to sound so good, you wants to do better. And then he makes you want to sound better.
then he make you sound good. He's a good engineer. I mean, I'm glad that God put us back together, and it's been like over 30 years from the time that I was dealing with him until now that we work together. I never knew he had all this, me myself, he's my neighbor, and he's somebody that I babysitted, and I've always cared for him, and I've always loved his whole family. But I think Bernard is the person that's going to change a lot of things and a lot of people in a lot of things in this world. But sometimes I don't like. I feel like some people learn stuff faster than others, and some people learn stuff slower than others. But when you're willing to work with somebody that don't mind helping you get to the point of the level of what you can do and want you to be the best that you can be, Bernard is the man because I don't see nobody else doing it like he done me. You know, took the time out to work with me, and he's so like whatever he can do for a person. Like when it comes to this music. So if anybody really want to just really get themselves and figure out what kind of talent they have within them, Bernard will pull it out, and that's my honest opinion of Bernard. Whatever you got in you, you work with him, he will pull that out, and that's for real.
We are back with Archive, and we are going to hear him sing a few bars from In the Wilderness.
Take me back to yesterday, the times we used to seek your face. Extend to me your mercy and your kindness. The love of many has waxed so cold, just like the Bible's word it's told. I don't want to be left out in the wilderness.
How did the word come to someone so young, to be able to find that and express that? Is that also from Christ? Is it a gift from Christ?
Yes, definitely. He was speaking to me. I can remember as early as probably 8 years old. I heard his voice, and I remember it scared me. I ran. I ran from it. I ran from it. Tried to live like a normal child, But I heard that voice calling me.
Treat.
The Vault has a series of 3 volumes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is my solo part is just the first volume of the Vault series.
Oh, okay. So we're not to expect a feature on the album, maybe 1 or 2.
On this one,
Yes.
I do have. Actually, I think I do have one. I have one particular feature I think on this album.
But this album is your solo project,
Yes, yes.
and
Because nobody's actually like leading a song with me on this one. It's all me singing lead by myself. But I have a featured rapper.
that's wonderful. Okay, all right, all
Hip-hop-
right. To see what we can
hip-hop
expect from
hip hop
this.
artist or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She has a pretty big name out there too.
We'll be right back after words from recording artist Grace Thomas.
All right, Archive. My old friend, Archive. Well, he's not old. I am. But anyway, I've been knowing him for like 10 years or so, or longer. And well, I met him at Aloha Club down the street here. And he was doing open mic night, and I had a band, so we were kind of doing it together. And my singer was about to leave, and I needed a singer. So a friend of ours told me about him, but I heard him sing, and I was like, okay, this boy is bad. And I always love singers. I always love good singers, and he just got that. Rough House, that Teddy Pendergrass, that just everybody. Marvin Gaye, he can be sweet, he can be rough, but the one common thread that goes through all his singing, his entertainment, his writing, is that it comes from his soul. And I always tell him he's a soul singer. He'd be like, "Nah, I'm hip hop, I'm this, I'm gospel." And he's gospel. His new CD, the vault, it's gonna have all his gospel stuff on there. Well, when he sings, it's like the gospel. So you will get the good news either way. But this vault is gonna be a gospel song, a CD with all his songs, and you know. And I just want you to know that he is the real deal. He really is. He sings from his soul. And as a matter of fact, that he had to sing from his soul to sing with me. Because that's how I sing. And, you know, we were like, we would do tag team. Like, he would sing a song, then I would sing a song. But he had to be just as good as me, and I'm good. And he's just as good. So nobody else could do it like him and me. Grace Thomas Experience featuring Archive. So yeah, go out and get that CD, the vault, anything you hear with Archive's name on it. Check it out. Go get it. It's great. It's got soul. Bringing back the soul. Whether it's R&B, whether it's gospel, it's still soul. And he's the original soul man.
Archive is simple. I came to Atlanta in 2004. I was doing some work with my cousins. Shout out to the Jackson sisters.
The Jackson sisters.
And I was working with them on some stuff, and they was like, you know, BJ, you know, one thing about it, you always keep up with everything. Everything we need, you've always kept up with that stuff. You got stuff all the way back from cassettes and everything. And you keep that stuff.
That sponge, right?
Yeah. And I was like, wow, really, y'all been paying attention. Every time we needed something, we always ask you. You got a copy of it. And so they said, you know what? You just a human archive. You just a walking human archive. And it was like, you know what? That's what we going to call you. That's what your name going to be. Your name finna be Archive. And I'm like, well, Archive? I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm like, why y'all calling me that? It was like, Archive. I'm like, y'all tripping. But I'm telling you, they spoke it into existence.
They did. I mean, apparently
here we are. Here we are all these years later. And there he is, the Archive. Coming out with the archives.
The
out
vault.
Of the vault.
Series of the vault. So
yes,
so that is true that you do hold on to a lot of material.
Yes, sir.
You know, and so I would imagine that, you know, that you have some major influences that you've held on to. Who is some of the other influences that inspired your music?
It's difficult for me to answer it because I feel like I'm influenced by everything in music. Everyone.
That's wise to say that.
Look, I told you I was a sponge. I took a little bit of something from everybody that had a good sound. Whether it was Joe, whether it was Tevin Campbell, whether it was Brian McKnight, whether it was Boyz II Men, whether it was John P. Key, whether it was Commission, whether it was Witness, whether it was the Clark Sisters, whether it was Rance Allen, whether, you know what I'm saying? And whether it was Commission, when it was Commission, that's Fred Hammond, Marvin Sapp, and all of them together in one. So, you know, it's like the Winans, you know, it was so many people. Aretha Franklin, you know, you had, I mean, there were so many people, Michael Jackson and Janet and Whitney and so many people that I heard growing up. It's so hard for me to just really say because, I mean, we had, everybody was influenced. Like I was a sponge, so I heard so much music from so many different. And I didn't just hear gospel; I heard gospel and R&B because I didn't grow up in church. I didn't come to church till I was 13, so I was listening to R&B before I even came to the church. And back in the 80s, music wasn't like how it is now. You know what I'm saying? All the people, all the music was on one radio station. All the videos was on one channel. So you know what I'm saying?
Right.
If we had pop, you know what I'm saying? You'll see somebody like Wham, and you'll see somebody like the Bon Jovi. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll turn around and see Madonna. And then you'll turn around and see Patti LaBelle. Right. And then you'll turn around and see Stephanie Mills and Whitney Houston and Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying?
It's a wide variety.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Osborne, you know, but then you'll turn around and you'll see like Kiss and all these other big time, you know, artists, you know, and they all were on one station. Yeah. So when I heard the radio, I heard everybody. You know what I'm saying? I heard everything. And then blues come on at a certain time of night and And then that old hip hop with the beginning of hip hop, that baby die you're so fine. I mean, it was like, and all that it takes two to make a thing go right, like it's like crazy.
So with all of those songs that you did mention, how were you able to stay intact with your spirituality and bring the songs on your album forth?
Well, the great thing about that is being rooted and grounded in the church, and dedicating my life to the Lord, and being able to reel it in and just be able to take all the music that I hear in my head and apply it to the circumstances and the situations and the tests and the trials that I've had to overcome in my life, and that God just used me to actually bring forth that. That's where it comes. It's just birth out of that. It's like he makes me this sponge, and then he wrings it out and he applies it where it's supposed to go.
That's beautiful.
It's like, and it goes into good places, I guess. It births out beautiful songs.
Well, what's a beautiful thing to, from the master artist, to be able to bless you with the gifts to show his paintings, in recording.
Yeah. But I will say this, one of my favorite songs growing up, I'm going to have to say this, is When Jesus Sings by Commission.
Wow.
That is one of my favorite songs. That song does something to my soul. It has always, every time I hear Fred Hammond sing that song, and it's weird because can you just imagine when Jesus sing to you? And you know what? I'm going to tell you what I feel. I feel like when the Lord allowed me to open my mouth and sing, that's him singing through me. Wow. Because he's doing that. That ain't me. He's making them tones come out my mouth the way he want them, the way he want them to come out. So that's him. That's like a part. And I was created in his image. So just imagine, that's him doing that. And I'm like, wow, I'm so honored.
Yeah.
I'm so honored to be used as a...
Is the time that I had met you, you really have inspired me and turned me on to a lot of gospel music that I wasn't very familiar with the gospel world. And one of the artists that had a big influence on me, who also had a big influence on you because you were one who brought it to me, was the Clark sisters, and particularly Karen Clark. Now, that those are my ladies. Those are my ladies, y'all. So
shout out to Karen.
Big shout out to Karen, Twinkie,
Dorinda,
Kiera, all of y'all.
Denise.
Much respect. So talk about that.
Jay
So
Moss, yes.
how did they become an influence for you, and for you to bring them to everyone else?
Very first time I heard Karen Clark sing.
When was that?
I was in Detroit, and she was at a church that I was at. And the very first song I heard her sing was that song, Where Do I Go When the Storm of Life is Raging? Who do I lean on? Something, I don't know. I go to the rock. She was saying I go to the rock. And I mean, I had never in my life heard no woman sing that song like that. The only person that I had ever heard come close to sing like that was Cherry Givens. And boy, when I heard that woman,
I love her. I love Cherry Givens.
And let me tell you, when I heard her, she reminded me a lot of Cherry Givens. But I didn't even know these two women knew each other, and they was connected. They was in the same jurisdiction, the same church. We all ended up growing up together.
So as I understand, I grew up Baptist, but for you, you grew up Church of God in Christ.
Yes,
is that
sir.
correct?
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
So Karen Clark and her dynasty of the Clark sisters, they were all from the Church of God in Christ.
Sir.
Oh wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
We had Bailey Cathedral in Detroit, and her mom, the Maddie Moss Clark, used to host these big midnight musicals in Detroit, and all the big time artists would come to these musicals. And, excuse me, I would get a chance to see the Clark sisters, and My first favorite Clark sister song. Now it's crazy because first time I saw Karen, she was by herself, and she was a young girl. She had to be her early 20s.
Oh wow.
And yeah,
So you go way back.
yes sir. Like let me tell you, it was crazy because I'm telling you, she sung that song and
Yeah.
blew my mind. I go to the rock, come to... Man, she stomped that church with that song, and then I went to the Bailey Cathedral musical one time. I think
Okay.
my cousins, the Jackson sisters, had to sing one time or something. Because I used to go there with my cousins a lot. And we went there one time, and I tell you, I heard them Clark sisters sing at Bailey Cathedral on that one microphone. All them 3, 4 girls got up there, and them girls sung "Blessed." Oh my goodness! And that became my favorite song. I'm serious. It was. You have to hear the harmony on that song. I am blessed, 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 blessed. I say yeah, 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 yeah. To my Lord. I'm just them girls was just I was just like wow. It was just, they was on a whole nother level. And I'm talking about they was on the mic just tearing it up, and I was like, I've never heard nobody sing like this other
Wow.
than my cousins, the Jackson sisters.
Right.
And I'm
Speaking of,
like, it was crazy. So it was like I'm seeing, it was like I saw like the Jackson sisters, Cherry Gibbons, Karen, and the Clark sisters, and that was just kind of like that was what I liked, you know.
that was very fortunate for you that you had that influence, but having a family, your own family, of talented musicians, how was that?
I learned a lot
Yeah.
from growing up in a musical family. And as like any other family, we've had obstacles. We've had we go through stuff just like every other
Any other family does.
But
Yeah.
by growing up in a musical family, shout out to Mila, shout out to Jackson Sisters, shout out to Eli's Uncle Cornelius, especially Uncle Cornelius. He was the musical. He started this musical thing. Him and my grandfather, when they were kids, they used to do the music around the house. They had organs and guitars and basses, and they were singing. And my uncle, he used to get out there and sing the blues, and he had that. He can really sing that blues, and they loved it, man. Like the thrill is gone. Listen. It's crazy because when I used to hear songs on the radio, being raised up in Michigan, a lot of those songs that were on the radio back then in the 80s, we had cover bands. And we used to do songs, well, it wasn't me, but the people ahead of me, they were doing songs. And my uncle was in these bands, and they would do them cover songs. And I would think that the people that was in the band was the people that was on the radio.
Because they were
just that
great.
good. They was sounding just that good.
Wow.
And I used to sit on my uncle's porch of his basement steps and watch the band perform in my uncle's basement. And I'm serious, dude. The first live song I think I ever heard played live with a live band in the basement that steers in my head was that "Don't you stop it, don't you stop that the music." And shout out to Rhonda Clark. Shout out to Rhonda Clark because let me tell you, Rhonda used to sing that I just want to rock you all night long. And she was young. Rhonda was like 16 back then. But she used to sing that song.
Really?
And then she ended up getting a record deal, and she ended up becoming like one of the biggest R&B female soloists out of the city of Flint. And then we had Ready for the World, and we had Dayton Family, and we had MC Breed, and all these people from my city. So, and then we had the Jackson sisters, and then my uncle was doing his thing, and it was just, we had a lot of talent. And then my church, had groups. I'm talking about groups and groups and groups and groups and groups. And I was able to sing with these groups and play with these groups and lead songs in the choir. The very first song I ever led in the choir.
Wow.
My very first song.
Which was?
Shout out to John P. Key and Phyllis Jean Jones. God rest Derek Jones. Listen, I'm telling you that Jesus is real. I know the Lord is real to me. Hey, I can feel him in my hands, feel him in my feet. I can feel the Lord Jesus go over me. I know he's real. The Lord is real. Jesus is real. No, that will tell you.
Let me ask you, brother. Let me ask you. So when I met you, I had no idea about all the gospel influence that you had. So a lot of the artists that you met, when you moved to Atlanta, we all know you for the R&B side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how is it that you juggled the R&B and the inspirational side? Because a lot of times they don't, society doesn't allow us to walk the two. Either you got to be in or you got to be out. So how are you able, and how did you, come about in doing your inspirational music?
Well, I look at music as, I'm an instrument. He made me an instrument.
Amen.
He made me a vessel,
Amen. Amen
And
to that.
he gave me every experience that I've been through for a reason. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just an artist. I'm a writer. I'm a producer. I'm a musician. I'm an engineer.
A teacher.
Whatever. All that too, whatever. But
yeah, I mean, really.
I just try to share with people, what I've been blessed with, and the knowledge that I've been given, and hopefully help somebody that their journey can be easy, because it wasn't easy for me, and I honestly can tell you that it was only by the grace of God that I'm still standing here today, and I'm able to release this album and put this music out. He's made ways out of no ways. I'm talking about I didn't have to sign with no labels. I didn't have to give away my publishing. I didn't have to, have people steal my records. I didn't have to go through any of that.
Or be developed into someone who you're not. A lot of times
experience that. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah. Yeah. But having the freedom to create your own music, what God gave you, and to put it out the way that He gave it to you. It's a wonderful thing. Not many people have that freedom.
I keep telling people, y'all better stop waiting on man's. Y'all better stop waiting on man's validation when y'all already been given God's accreditation.
Hey.
If God
Say that again. Actually,
if God has already accredited you to do something, if He's already given you the credentials, the knowledge, the skills, the gift, the know-how, and He's gotten your path and He's leading you, then why do we still feel like we need man's validation? So why keep waiting for man's validation when you've already been given God's accreditation?
No, that's a
and I'm
word
gonna keep
in
saying
itself.
it.
No.
Let's see. I know Bernard Jackson Jr. I call him BJG. I've been knowing Archive of Brainstorm Entertainment for 11 years now. I know him in a different way. Scripture says he asked Cain, where's your brother Abel? He's like, I don't know, probably doing something. Part was, am I my brother's keeper? He responded to God. And, that's kind of like missing. And I can honestly say that he lived by that. That's one, that's the foundation of our relationship. Am I my brother's keeper? The Bible also talked about when you see people in need of something, And if you don't, and you haven't done it, you've kind of done it unto the Lord. I know Archive to be a servant of the Lord and to kind of like hold up, kind of like to that part. He displays it all the time. He will give his last, you know, even when he doesn't have, you know, I've seen him many times call upon the Lord. I'm a witness in his life for 11 years, you know, to actually have seen the hand of the Lord come through on his behalf before in many situations. Extremely talented. He's one of the greatest producers that I know in the United States. Big ups to Flint, Michigan, because he's a product of that and he rep it wherever he goes. And that's great within itself, because a lot of people are not happy about where they come from, you know, but that dude wears Flint on his back. I also know him to keep God in everything. You know, it's very, very, very challenging in this day and age, especially in the music business, to try to make sure that, you know, Jesus Christ is the forefront, is in the forefront of anything that you're doing. And that's what this vote is about. This vote is about the inner dealings of Archive and the Most High. From my understanding, these melodies and these lyrics came from out of nowhere, and to hear the potency in these lyrics, you can feel the oil. These are some of the best songs I've ever heard and production within gospel music, if we're going to, you know, specify a genre. But there were some inspirational songs up on this project that I know for a fact it can reach and go outside of the four walls. And I think that's what true ministry is about. And I think this particular project shows that he tapped into the ministry side, the kingdom side of Archive. You know, and I think the whole focus from conversations with him about this particular obedience of releasing this particular project, it had to do, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto myself. And I think that's what this is, the core of it is within this vote, you know, allowing people to understand that Jesus is not gone. He might just be in the vote. And to parallel scriptures and prophetic prophecies of the Bible, Jesus is on his way back. So it's like coming out with the vote and also fulfilling ministry is totally in alignment with what I know. One of the things that the gospel is really about, and that's preaching the kingdom of heaven and earth in the return of Jesus Christ. And this project, The Vault, literally has tapped into, and especially the production, tapped into a lot of genres, you know, a lot of subject matters. But the concept of all of them has to do with the kingdom, you know. And I do appreciate an artist like Archive to let the Lord use him, heard the voice, release it out of obedience, you know. And I back him in everything that he does when it comes down to this particular Vault project. I have a song on there that he produced called You Can Run, You Can't Hide, written by Prophet Ched Brown out of California by way of New Orleans, produced by Archive, and it's the message of the prodigal son. And I think the message of the prodigal son is basically, relevant to all of us. And that's exactly what Jesus is saying. It's like no matter how far you go, no matter how much you run, further you run away, think you're running away. I do know that the Most High has a way of bringing all of us back to Him. And I do believe that the vault is one of those tools. So, Archive, I bless you, brother. It was an opportunity to work with you on this project. And let's continue to keep up the banner of Jesus Christ, man, this kingdom stance that we're taking through the vault. You know what I mean? And all your listeners, everybody that knows Him, open your ears and open your eyes and pay attention to what the Most High is getting ready to do in Bernard Jackson Jr., BJJ. Archive, Brainstorm Entertainment. Shalom to you.
Wanted to talk to you a little bit about your company, Brainstorm Entertainment. How did that come about?
Well, Brainstorm actually started as a branch off from T-Boom Productions.
T-Bone.
T-Boom, B-O-O-M.
Okay.
Yes.
But how did the name Brainstorm? That name in itself just encompasses a lot,
Well, it's like, after me and Tone decided to part ways with our music, she went on her musical journey. I went on my
and this
musical
is
journey.
Tone Treasure.
Yes, sir.
Referring to?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because we were partners with T-Boom Productions.
Okay.
And we were trying to build a thing, and we had a couple deals on the table. We were offered. We had a nice little situation going.
Yeah.
But we ended up growing up and going our separate ways, and so I ended up not knowing where to turn. And I had all this music, and I didn't know what to do.
May I ask, were they inspirational type music, or
Yes.
was it R&B or both?
At that time, it was all gospel. At that time,
Okay.
I think everything we were recording was gospel, and so I didn't really know what to do. I had recorded an R&B group, New Era. That was the first R&B group I had recorded, aka me and my boys. So, but what ended up happening was I was at a standstill, and I was like, well, Lord, what am I going to do? I don't know,
where to go in the wilderness, right?
And it was like Brainstorm Entertainment. I was like, a storm in my brain. And I'm like, so them lightning strike and hit my brain and makes this beautiful music.
But also, and just the creative process in coming up with music, you know what I mean? Collectively with all of your artists, it is a brainstorm, and the writers, the producers, the arrangers that come about. It's all collaboratively, it's a brainstorm in order to come up with great music. I just think that's just a great title for a name for a company.
You hit the hammer on the nail.
You did?
Because it's bigger. Yeah, because it's bigger than me. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And that's what I had to realize. When I started out doing this music thing for myself.
Okay.
I did not know that it was going to get this big. I really had no idea. We don't even have
Thankfully
time.
so.
We don't even have time for my testimony as far as that. But I remember a particular point in time when nobody wanted to help me. A particular time where I could not afford to record in a big studio. I can remember a time when nobody wanted to give me a record deal. Nobody wanted to give me a recording or production deal or a publishing deal or a songwriting deal or an artist deal. Nobody was helping me. I always had the belief in myself, with the help of God leading me and guiding me. But the people, no, they had other people that they were interested in. I was not the one. You know what I'm saying? In their mind, I wasn't the one. But
in their mind, for the people, that's a wonderful thing that you did not have to go through other avenues in order to bring out your music. You were able to do so yourself. Being a leader, God makes us the head, not the tail, so you shouldn't have to beg anyone to put something out that God's going to give it to you, because God's going to make you the lead and bring it out yourself, right? But how
You look at
well, that's how I look at it because when I met you in 2004, you know, for me, you were the leader, you know. So I didn't. You had the company already, you know. So I guess in your testimony, you know, where you at one point in time were looking for someone else, you know, here are other artists that joined your company that were looking towards you. So that's the beautiful thing about you may see life in one way, but it's for everyone else. It's interpreted totally different. You know.
wow, that's amazing.
So I think that was a beautiful thing. And when I met you, I thought it was a wonderful experience, and I didn't know how to, I've never recorded before. You know, I knew how to write songs, but it's a difference in writing a song and in putting together a song so that what you hear on the radio is totally different from just coming up with the lyrics, you know. And I thought that the beautiful thing about you is, you know, you bring out the raw parts of us and it makes something so beautiful. You know what I mean? Like just the from the recording, development of the songs, you know, helping with the writing, you know, and sharing how to mix and to engineer. You know, those are things that people don't normally share. So it was a beautiful thing that while you were looking for labels to provide you an avenue, you were doing that for other up and coming artists. So I thought that was just wonderful. But how speaking of how was that and how is that for you? You know, to be the CEO and for you to have an album coming out, but work with other people and pushing their albums as well. How do you manage all of that?
I just go as the spirit lead me. To be honest, spirit said put this project out, and he told me what order to put it out in. That's what I'm doing, and you know, I'm telling you, I don't know how I do it. I'm telling you,
You just live.
it's some kind of peace that God gives me that passes all understanding, that allows me to be able to multitask. Like work on my project, work on your project, work on her project, his project. Like I'm just able to do it. It's like, and I'm able to do it, and I can do it fast and get it done, and it be good. You know, it don't take a lot of hard work. It just takes a made-up mind. It just takes just the skills and just the knowledge and the anointing. Really, just to let the Lord just use you and just get it done. Because I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, but it's like I'm telling you, he get in me and he make me do stuff, and it just comes out like what everybody like.
Speaking of
So
what
look,
everyone,
don't give me the credit. Give him the credit because he's the one that
And
he
we
does
thank you,
it.
God,
Like
for
like
that.
I can't do it. Like
we thank him for that. Now,
sometimes I have to get Matty Moss on everybody.
yeah, see, and that's the part that
to get the best out of you though.
and I appreciate that. But what people, I sincerely, I know BJ very well. He is my spiritual brother. But the recording process of working with a mastermind and such a talented person, it's very intimidating. It's very intimidating because you seek perfection in yourself, in your music, and you have that ear that not everyone has. To an artist, to a new artist. It's intimidating because you never put out anything before. You never heard yourself recorded before. So I remember the days that when we were recording, the piece that you were speaking of, I didn't know anything about that piece. It was an experience. I'll just leave it as that. It was an experience, but that experience taught me a lot, particularly now when I get up on stage, dare I say, now that when I'm on stage, it's those things that I learned in the studio from you. Make sure your nose is right. Make Make sure you know what you're doing before you get out there. What are you singing? Know what you're singing about. Mean what you're saying. Those things were heavy, and I remember times I wanted to come out to the studio and really knuckle up because it's like, dude, you know, I'm an adult and you're talking to me like I'm a child, but it's a wonderful thing because as you learn from Maddie Moss Clark, which we all love the Clark sisters.
Maddie didn't play. Maddie throw
She
shoes
did
at you.
Yeah, but you know what?
If you was off key, she didn't play.
But you
so
know
I was
what?
nice compared to Maddie.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I got the nice part of you.
Just imagine if Maddie would have been alive today and she would have been in the studio.
But we thank her for that because you know what?
Engineering and then people been singing them notes like that. Ooh, I don't think her patience would have been able to handle that.
But you know, it's I think it's very unfortunate, but I think with a lot of artists, when they have someone that drives them and that pushes them out past what they see of themselves, it makes you a better artist. I don't know, it just does something. It brings something else out of you. Look at the Clark sisters.
If Maddie wouldn't have woke them girls up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, I got a song, girls, get on it. Twinkie, get on that organ. Come on, girls, get up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And sing it.
And make them girls sing it.
And sing
Made them girls go to all them conventions, made them go to the musicals. Every time the mama performed, she made Twinkie get on that organ, even when Twinkie didn't want to. And made them girls get in that choir and sing with that choir to strengthen their voices and lead songs in that choir. She molded them. And now look who everybody is, the Clark sisters. They're making a movie about them now.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And what you learn from them, you know, and that style of recording and that style of musical development, being able to share that with us, you know, we are now serious about when we go out places, you know, don't waste people's time. Make sure you know what you're singing about. Don't go out there and, seriously, you know, don't go out and be a mess. You know what I mean? Just, you know, deliver the song, you know. So I'm very grateful that I had a chance to experience that. You know, other artists, Tone 1Y, Cherry Givens, you know, we all have had we've all had our own experience in recording with you. But brother, I through it all, I thank you for even taking the time to even show me the ropes.
Well, I feel like when you have the potential, my job is just to bring the best out of what's already there. You know, and sometimes the process is not going to always be, you know, it's easy. It's not an easy process all the time. You know what I'm saying? To get that out of you. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes I have to try different techniques to get the best out of people. You know, sometimes it's been some times where I've had to make people
sometimes
very
get mad.
angry.
Sometimes you get mad and you come out
when
the boot
you
sweating.
To these records that's gonna come out the vault, you gonna realize. When you hear it, you're gonna be like, wow.
Wow, that's me.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like you know, like that Never Knew. I mean, I still love that song.
Never Knew is a song that's on my album.
Yeah, I still like, and I mean, even after how long has it been? It was like 05. This is 2019 now.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I can still play that song and still hear the rawness and the sincerity of when we recorded that record. You know, it's still there and it's timeless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I still can't believe we did that.
Yeah. And
that's
I think
nobody else's stuff. That's us.
That's us. That's us. I believe that you know, when I listen to the vault, that word you just said, you know, is the one thing that I think everyone in the music business tries to strive for, and it's having those timeless songs that live forever, something that someone can take with them, you know, and especially when it's inspirational. You know, we all go through things. No one's exempt from anything, and to have those type of songs, you know, and particularly for you to experience what you experienced and then bring those out, you know, I think that's just this is a blessing for us all.
You know, it's crazy because 20 years ago when I was doing these songs, I didn't realize what these songs meant back then. You know, as a 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old young man, who's really just now coming into the knowledge of Christianity and being saved and living for the Lord.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was really writing about back then. I knew, but I didn't know until I really experienced some stuff. Until I really went through some stuff in life.
Until you have to actually be in the wilderness.
Yes.
The song that your father gave you.
That song.
Right. So, yeah, I bet you didn't even have any idea when your dad gave you that title to write, and then you wrote to that song, and here you are in 2019, and you
thought. And it's
never
crazy
knew,
because
right?
All the right. And it's crazy because those songs now coming back and they're encouraging me now through every situation.
As much as it did then.
Yeah. And it's like, because he told me, he said, go back and listen to them songs. He said, see where I brought you from. He said, go back and listen to those songs. Listen to the message that I gave you in those records.
Yeah.
And see how they're going to minister to you right now in the state that you're in and what you're going through right now.
You know
And
what?
he said, now, when they minister to you, you got to get them out there so they can minister to the other people as well.
And that's just a beautiful thing in what you just said, for the audience. And when you check out the vault, listen to those songs. It may be from what you've experienced in your trials and in your testimony, but even in your own trials and your testimony, listen to those songs when you need something to pick you up, or if you feel that someone doesn't understand where you're coming from. Songs like this will be the ones to pull you through. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Right? So I think you
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith. Keep the faith. So I really thank you for, sharing your story, your talents, your time, your wisdom, your love, all of your gifts, to bring us all to this point. And so that you're sharing your gifts with the world. You're sharing your gifts with me. I'm excited just as much as you are to release this out, so that everyone can experience this love from Christ.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anything else you would like to let the people know?
I hope that this project will minister to someone or some people the way that the Lord allowed it to minister to me. And I'm hoping that people can be healed, they can be delivered,
Yes, God.
they can be set free,
Yes.
and they can understand that they can survive any circumstance. Their defeat is not an option. Defeat is not an option. I can do all things.
All things.
Through Christ.
Through Christ.
Who strengtheneth me.
Yes, God.
Acknowledge him, y'all, in all thy ways. And I'm a living witness. He will direct thy path. I told my mother at 3 years old I'm going to be a singer and a doctor. Here I am, over 4 decades later. I consider myself to be a singing doctor. Like I told my mother I was going to be at 3. So if you put your mind to it,
Yes.
anything in this life that you
Anything.
want to achieve and that you want to accomplish, no, it's not an option. Can't is not an option. My mom always told me, she said, Can't died a long time ago, and he whooped old couldn't till he could. She let me know it's not an option, so I had to keep going. And if I can do it, anybody else could do it too. This is a living witness, a living example. So I'm hoping that this album will minister to people, and I'm hoping that my life and my light will allow people to be able to realize that they can do it too, and with the help of Christ, that all things are possible.
All things. Thank you
Yes, sir.
for your time.
No problem.
Much love. Don't leave me hanging now,
I'm
brother.
sorry, I was saying,
I love you. Thank you.
appreciate
All right,
you
you're
so
welcome. I
much.
appreciate
I really
you.
do.
All right. Y'all be easy. Thank you for listening to us. Check out The Vault coming from Archive. Much love, peace, and blessings to you.
With 17 totally remastered solo songs, Volume 1 of Archive's recording will include a mixture of gospel and soul-flavored up-tempo, mid-groove, and slow jams that showcases Archive's multi-talents in singing, songwriting, instrumental, vocal production, recording, mixing, and mastering of music while reverencing the love for God through his gifts in musical artistry. with recordings such as Call My Name featuring Tone Treasure. The sound is bound to captivate you with its up-tempo R&B infused production. The lyrics gently reminds us that whatever trials we face, having the power and ability to call on the Creator and with assurance know that He is right there to show us His love and care. No Greater Love is a mid-tempo song with R&B flavors that expresses the depth of love from God to us and our love for Him. The harmonious smash, Keep the Faith, will encourage you to stay in the race and your precious life story. We must not run and not get weary. Then, I Can't Go For That. It's a free-feeling anthem that reflects on the power you have to take back anything that the devil may have stole from you. Thank you, Mama. It is a song dedicated to Archive's mom and ode to the angels who have birthed us into the world and has cared for us as God does for us all. It's a playlist of heart and emotions and a labor of life and love, a recording of treasures, experiences. So enter the vault and let the sounds of Archive bless you in this spiritual journey. Thank you for watching.